Muy buenas, ¿qué tal? Estamos aquí, volvemos en Vampyr y vamos a vamos a continuar donde lo dejamos.
It's okay, Jonathan. I'll see you later.
Vale, pero no puedo pasar. Ah, yo...
It's my turn.
Digo, no puedo ir más rápido.
Each heart contains the sweat of life. Drink at this river, try it all.
Pero... Bueno, ha habido un pequeño fallo ahí de cámara.
Oh, come on, you bastard. I won't bite.
Sir, please. You've lost too much blood. Calm yourself.
You think I didn't notice? Stop your staring and get me to an hospital, you arse.
Dejaré que se desangre, sea más educado, acabaré con su vida. Sea más educado. Clico. Revisión médica. Pulsa para más. ¡Guau! ¿Qué es esto?
Insulting a good Samaritan. Not exactly the way to get rescued.
All right, sorry.
Sí, ya, bueno.
I'm in pain here. My guts are spilling out onto the street.
A ver, el otro... ¡Ah, que puedo mover la cámara!
Yes. That's a very nasty wound you've got there. Take my word, I am a doctor. Dr. Jonathan Reed.
O el otro ha acabado peor.
Name's Clay Cox. I'd appreciate you helping me to a better place, Doc.
Follow me, Mr. Cox. Let me assist you to that better place.
La calidad de sangre indica cuánta experiencia recibirás de un ciudadano. Cuanto más alta sea la calidad de la sangre, más experiencia obtendrás. Cautivar. Para poder beberte la sangre de tu presa, tendrás que cautivar primero para apartarla de miradas indiscretas. Tu nivel de cautivar debe ser igual o mayor que la resistencia del ciudadano. Pulsa L. Pero... Hostia, lo mato. Pues a tomar por culo.
Bring this fading light into the shadows. Dance with him the dance of life and death.
Para tentación o para liberar. Sentenciar a Clay y proporcionar un impulso que aumentará.
No more. Not tonight. Not like this. I will not take another life.
Did I black out?
What? Ah, pero no le llevo al hospital tampoco, o sea que te follen. Claro, a ver, yo...
It is wise for the huntsman to sometimes let his prey go. But no famished hunter can run for long.
A ver, pero el tío el que ha matado... Yo no sé si quién ha empezado la pelea, ¿sabes? A lo mejor este se estaba defendiendo y el otro... O sea, no sé, tío.
What happened?
No sé. No sé. Hombre, siempre podré volver para comérmele, ¿no? O sea... Si luego me arrepiento, pues vuelvo. Digo, bueno, no sé. Hostia, mucha gente aquí, ¿eh? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa?
Doctor, where have you been? I've little time to play hide and seek with new staff members, no matter how illustrious they may be.
I found a wounded man by the docks. He answers to the name of Clay Cox. He requires urgent medical attention.
Already making the rounds? That's the Pembroke spirit. I'll ask our porter, Milton, to bring him back immediately.
Thank you, nurse. What can I do for you?
Dr. Swansea insisted we provide you a quiet office. You'll find it on the second floor with your name on the door.
Thank you. Nurse Crane, isn't it?
Yes, Dorothy Crane. Welcome to Pembroke Hospital, Dr. Reed. Your office has been prepared.
¿Cómo puede haber una placa con mi nombre si acabo de venir? O sea, what the fuck.
I would like to ask a few questions first.
¿Cómo está el señor Caro?
And Mr. Hampton, the patient we brought in. How does he fare?
¿Por qué me mira a mí en vez de al personaje? Me mira a mí, ha mirado a la cámara, tío.
Poor thing was in quite a state of shock.
What kind of man is Dr. Swansea?
Well, you accepted the job from him. I thought you would have known about your employer.
Conoce más que yo a él.
It's right to assume Dr. Swansea knows far more about me than I do about him.
You'll get to know him soon enough, and better than me. The administrator has better things to do than mix with us.
What kind of man is Dr. Swansea?
Esto ya lo hemos
Well, you
dicho.
accepted the job from him.
Con cuadrados se salta.
Apologies, I've only just met him the once. This is sudden. I've only just returned.
Claro, esto no tiene mucho sentido volver a
Dr.
decirlo, ¿no?
Swansea is a brilliant surgeon
Un
and
médico
a
más
most
compasivo que
compassionate
conoce.
physician.
Vale. ¿Dónde está mi consulta?
If you could point me in
Segundo
the
piso, me ha
direction of my
dicho.
room again, nurse.
Second floor of the hospital, left
Gire a
after
la
the
izquierda.
stairs.
Segundo
It's the
piso a la
last
izquierda.
vacant office at the
Al
end
final
of the
del
corridor.
pasillo encontrará mi despacho, vale.
Thank you, Nurse Crane.
A ver, por aquí cosas que saquear, que robar, o no. Ahí descansa para evolucionar el cartelito, sí, ya lo sé. Pues no sé. Ah, aquí es donde estaba. Ah, vale. ¿Por aquí? Quédese en casa. Gripe, frecuentemente agravada por la neumonía. Quédese en casa para evitar contagiarse de la gripe española. A ver, es lo que dije antes. Me da un poquito de corte empezar a investigar ya, tío. ¿Sabes? O sea, acabo de llegar a este puto sitio. No sé ni cómo es el despacho, ¿sabes? No me apetece mucho ponerme a investigar por ahí fuera. Piu, piu, piu. A ver, ¿qué gente hay? Hostia, aquí hay gente... Ah, no, están dentro, ¿no? Porque este... Sí, está dentro también. Espera, ¿por qué estos brillan? ¿Qué? ¡Ah! ¿Qué es esto? What the fuck? ¿Qué es esto?
How can I be sure I'll not find your unconscious body in the house again?
I promise you, you'll not find my unconscious body.
For God's sake, how can you say such a thing?
How can you refuse to listen? I tried to warn you for so long.
No, I won't let my only son die. You promised me you'll stay alive.
Your son lied to you, like the whole world lies to us.
Hostia, nueva pista de Mortimer, no sé qué. Mortimer trató de quitarse la vida. Oh yeah. Tengo Claycox, que no tengo ninguna pista. Oh yeah, chaval. Busca tu despacho en la segunda planta. Ok, vale. ¿Tú quién eres? Hola.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'm new here.
I've already heard about you, Dr. Reed. I'm Milton Hooks, the ambulance driver for this shithole of a hospital.
That's quite a blunt
Bueno.
introduction, Mr. Hooks.
You can call me Milton. I like to speak my mind, Dr. Reed. Perk of the job. Don't judge me, and I won't judge you.
I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about.
Well, I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure a gun can't be used as a surgical instrument.
You have a keen eye. I learned to shoot during the war and have carried one ever since. Old habits die hard.
No need to explain, Dr. Reed. And if you ever need a better gun, remember, I may have something for you.
Joder. El portero con un arma ahí, en plan vendiendo armas.
Are you really smuggling weapons through the hospital?
And why not? I've already been attacked by patients, you know. And by gang members willing to steal my money.
But you're not defending yourself. You're selling guns to civilians.
You keep people alive your own way, Doctor. I offer them another way to protect their health.
How is the situation around here?
You want to hear the situation is all right? It's fucking awful. We lack everything. And it's getting worse every day.
So what do you do exactly in this hospital? Apart from smuggling guns, I mean.
I've been an ambulance driver since... too long, I guess. I bring sick people here night and day. It's a dirty job, but I get it done. Most of the time.
Since you're on the front line, how is the sanitary situation in this vicinity?
It's a complete disaster. It's even getting dangerous to enter some streets or buildings. Even the locals attack you.
It sounds like things have been a bit rough recently. What's happened?
Yesterday I got attacked by the patient I was bringing in. I escaped through the hospital's garden, but I lost my wallet when I was running.
You left an infected patient outside the hospital? That's incredibly dangerous.
Go there yourself if you want, but be careful, Doctor. I'd rather not bring your dead body back.
Investigaciones locales. Medianoche en el jardín del bien y del mal. Una investigación sobre ciudadanos. Pulsa, tal... Al rastrearla con cuadrado... Y aquí no hay investigaciones en los muelles, Hospital Pembroke, distritos desconocidos. Vale. Vale. Y esto para comprar cosas.
Wise choice, Dr. Reed. A reliable gun is what everybody needs these days.
¿Qué es esto? Una escopeta. Esto lo puedo vender. Vale, pues de momento nada, gracias. ¿Qué tengo marcado? Ah, espérate. Ah, vale. Tengo marcado lo del jardín. Vale, digo, espérate. Que aquí hay... Hostia, aquí hay mucha gente con la que hablar,
This place seems perfect to conduct my research.
Pero mucha gente. Entonces, ¿what? Tengan piedad, dependen de ustedes. Se necesitan enfermeras. Pregunta en la oficina de nombramiento. O escriba... Londres. Ay, espera, antes vi algo. Espera, antes vi una cosa. Por la pared. Ah, es un cartel, vale. Ayuda. Vale. Vale, creía que digo, hostia, es un agujero para investigar, ¿vale? No. Es un cartel. Ok. Hola.
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon at the Pembroke Hospital. And who are you?
Your name has no meaning to me, mortal. You're nothing but dust blown by the winds of eternity.
I beg your pardon?
What are you begging for, mortal? My clemency? Well, tonight maybe I'm inclined to mercy. You'll never forget the night you met Thelma Howcroft.
You keep calling me mortal. Why is that? And if I'm mortal, what are you?
Well, Dr. Reed, if you must know, I'm a vampire.
¿Me está vacilando o va en serio?
And why do you believe you're a vampire?
I don't need to believe anything. It is what I am. It is what I feel within this hollow shell of flesh.
Please, describe to me how you feel. What is it like to be a vampire?
I can hear my body crumble from the inside as my flesh cracks and fades. I sense the last pulse of postulant blood within my drying veins. I need new blood.
Síndrome de Cotard. ¡Hostia! ¡El síndrome de Cotard! ¡Hostia! Era que el paciente cree que está muerto, tío. Es una pasada. Hubo un pavo que murió, que tenía este síndrome, que murió porque dejó de beber y de comer porque decía, joder, estoy muerto, ¿para qué? No necesito comer y beber. Y no notaba ni la sed ni el hambre. Y murió por eso, chaval. Y otros se encerraron en un ataúd. Y otros... Pues sí, o sea, son...
Have you ever heard of Cotard syndrome, Miss Howcroft?
Never.
It's a mental illness discovered by a French neurologist named Jules Cotard. The affected patients are delusional. They believe that they are putrefying, that they are dead, a ghost or a ghoul, or in your case, a vampire.
Delusional, you say?
Hey.
Oh, sad and petty mortal. You can't even begin to understand the concept of immortality. And you think it is I who am delusional.
Es una paciente.
I'm assuming you must be a patient here. Am I right, Miss Howcroft?
It's only a cover. To hide from my enemies. I can leave whenever I want. As a woman, a spirit, fog, or bat.
Ya.
Who are these enemies you mentioned? Can you describe them?
I cannot say for sure. But I sense their eyes on me from nearby. I feel them watching me every time I visit the garden near the morgue.
Hostia, mucho pasa en ese jardín, ¿eh?
The staff here are not your enemy. They're here to help you, to care for you.
I'm not speaking of the doctors in white. I'm speaking of the men and women who hunt me. For I am a vampire.
I see. Don't worry. These people will not find you here. I'll personally make sure they leave.
Pero tampoco que lo vaya anunciando, ¿sabes?
But do not interfere with them, for you are no match for those that hunt me.
Ya. Objetivo equivocado, ¿cómo? Ah, que es el título de una nueva misión. Joder, vale. ¿Qué digo ahí?
Who are you really, Miss Howcroft? I mean, apart from being a vampire.
Is that not enough for you, puny mortal? What do you require? Proof of my powers?
I'm curious to know who you were before becoming a vampire.
No, it's such a long time ago, I don't remember. Centuries of unholy life can have strange effects on one's minds, you see?
Vale, mira, déjalo.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
Wonder why the Goswicks came in the first place.
Espera un momento. Vale, a ver. ¿Dónde está? ¿What? A los escondites. Molaría hacer viajes rápido entre refugios, tío. ¿Sabes? Sí. He superado... Oh, lol. Vale, espérate. No, un momentito. Aquí está. Averigua quién es... ¿Quién? Averigua quién espía a Thelma. Vale. Claro, si va anunciando que es vampira... What the fuck el vecino, tío. Si va denunciando que es vampira, me acaba de conocer. Yo, ¡soy vampira! Y yo, bueno, vale. Pues va a ir todo el puto mundo, ¿sabes?
Good evening, sir. Can I help you?
Unless you're here to fix my face. No. I don't think you can help me.
I'm Dr. Reed. I've recently taken the position of head surgeon here. War injuries, am I right?
You guessed right, Doctor. German shell took my pretty little mug right off. But they still call me Thomas Elwood.
Hostia.
How is your stay with us, Mr. Elwood?
Oh, it's bliss. I just escaped death in the trenches to be surrounded again by the moans of the dying.
Can I ask you precisely why you're a patient here?
It's the pain, sir. The drugs don't work. It just hurts under the scars, if you get my drift.
Can I do anything for your pain?
Nurses gave me a bunch of pills. No effect. Told you. It's like the flames are under my skin, burning away.
Who is treating you? Is someone in particular looking after your case?
Nobody since the old and tired doctor spoke to me. Started to think I was forgotten about. Wouldn't blame you.
You don't seem worried by that.
My face hurts so much more when I smile or cry. I've learned it's easier not to speak. But be assured I'm smiling inside.
Where were you stationed, sir? Did you serve for long?
I really don't want to talk about all this shit.
No offense. I was pushing too much. I served in France myself. I just wanted to know what happened to you.
You were an officer, weren't you? Then I doubt we fought the same war, sir. No offense.
How close are you to Miss Hallcroft? Are you aware that she thinks she is a vampire?
To wait for her next nibble is the best reason to stay here. Every time she approaches my bed, she treats me like something tasty. A normal person.
Aren't you afraid? She may hurt you if the game goes too far.
She's quite harmless, I can assure you. Her head's broken inside is all. While I'm busted on the outside. But she's still beautiful. Living proof that there's hope for me.
Nueva pista.
So do you let her bite you? You know that's not sanitary.
And why not? She's only supping a few drops of me blood. And the pain, it's real for once.
She could decide to bite less willing patients.
Then it's another good reason for me to stay here, Doctor.
You do realize she's mentally disturbed. It's called the Cotard syndrome. She truly believes she's a vampire.
In her madness, she never refers to my scars. And frankly, if I could, I'd join her world. It seems much more fun than the real one.
Preguntas personales. Ah, no, esto ya está, vale. Pues
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
Hey. What? Yo no le he dado. ¿Esto por qué? Espera, voy a poner lo de las personas aquí. Este, ¿por qué tiene un coso? Este tiene un coso aquí. Pero no, estos no.
Fear and disgust on every street corner.
Si hablo con ella, espera. Si vuelvo a hablar con ella ahora, ¿tengo alguna opción nueva?
How are you tonight?
I need blood, doctor.
Sí, vale, muy bien.
Tell me, Thelma, why do you feel so attached to Mr. Elwood? Why him?
I'm not sure, Doctor. I think we have a bond of some sort. We've both suffered so much. He's the only mortal I find interesting.
Do you plan to make him a vampire too?
Of course not. How could I inflict my curse on anybody else? I'm not that cruel, Doctor.
Would you say you and Mr. Elwood are romantically involved?
No. No, Thomas is a delicate soul. Even though he disguises it. But I am not the woman he needs. No, for I am a vampire, Doctor.
I'll leave you, Mistress of...
I wish I could be sick again. Feel my blood boil with the fever.
Ok. ¿Esto no es el que salgamos?
Good evening, Mr. Hampton. How do you feel?
Sí.
Dr. Reed, is it? Oh, sir, I must apologize for my behavior.
What do you mean?
I was not myself in the factory. Fear and exhaustion made me say awful things to you, I'm afraid.
You remain
dijo?
perfectly nice and polite.
Claro.
A little delirious, perhaps. But who wouldn't be after enduring an abduction?
Thank you, Doctor. That's a relief. Now all I need to do is rest and return to my flock.
Joder. Tom Watts, ¿quién es este?
Do you know Tom Watts?
Ah.
The bartender from the Turtle. I met him before I found you in the canning factory.
Tom? Yes, of course. Always the helping hand, good old Tom. Without men like him, corruption and despair would have wiped out the East End long ago.
People are still in despair.
How could it be otherwise? The authorities have left us all to rot in this contagious nightmare. No drugs, no advice, nothing. It's a damn shame.
Who should I avoid in this part of town, then? Any particularly evil figures?
Not really. Most men and women are just doing their best. And it's not my habit to speak ill of people I know, Doctor.
¿Llevo en serio 26 minutos de esto? ¿Hablando con gente?
How did you end up in William Bishop's den?
I had received alarming news about his recent behavior. I went to his place and he refused to let me go.
Why did he abduct you?
William was an alcoholic. His addiction suddenly changed to blood. I don't know why. Just like a patient I met here. This Miss Hawcroft.
Ah, sí. Hombre, esto... No se lo digo, ¿no? Mejor no.
What is the general situation in the East End docks?
The situation has always been tough, with a lot of tensions between the gangs and the dockers' trade union. The wet boot boys are very nervous since they lost their leader.
Who leads the gang now?
Since Clay Cox went missing, it's his wife Edwina who runs the show.
Oh.
With the assistance of her minion, Booth Digby.
Has the gang been threatening you?
Ah, no. I've had this nickname for so long, you know, the sad saint of the East End. No one dares to bug a saint, not even criminals.
Este ha sido... Es que
How
si lo...
did you end up in William?
Sí, bla, 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 sí.
You dared to enter this awful place alone. You're a hero, Mr. Hampton. Or a fool.
I'm just a man trying to help his friends, Dr. Reed. William Bishop was a conflicted soul, searching for light.
Vale,
How do you feel, Mr. Hampton? Medically.
O sea, el pavo del principio, el que me podía cargar, es el líder de una
Beyond
banda.
exhaustion, actually. William drank so much of my blood in his madness. I feel...
¿Qué dices?
Empty.
¿Que lo han
You're in
mordido?
good hands here.
¿Qué dices?
Dr. Swansea is well versed in blood transfusion, and I'm sure he'll take the best care of you.
Thank you, sir. I believe all I need is rest. And then I can go back to the people who need me.
Have you made friends since you arrived?
Not really, but I recognize Miss Harriet Jones. I knew her when she lived by the docks. That poor woman had such a miserable life.
You never came to see her here at Pembroke? Receiving visits when sick can be an important part of the healing process, you know. We're not just bodies.
You're preaching to the converted now, Doctor. To be truly honest, I thought she was dead. She left the docks many months ago.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Hampton? I can't help but notice the cross around your neck.
I manage a night asylum for the poor and homeless of the docks. And I try to guide the lost and hesitant on the right path to our Lord.
Are you a priest, Mr. Hampton? A deacon, maybe?
Not at all, Doctor. I'm just a man of faith willing to preach the good word.
Si le pregunto esto va a decir, ¿qué dices? Ni que fuera un vampiro.
Why didn't you use your cross against William Bishop? To repel him somehow?
That's a very strange question, Doctor. A cross is no magical token, if that's what you were trying to say. Not mine, anyway.
Tú inténtalo, créeme. Por si acaso.
Goodbye, Mr. Hampton. We'll talk again later.
Aquí, ¿quién es? ¿Tú quién eres?
It's locked.
¿Cómo coño entro ahí? Ahí hay una señora. Ah, perdón, qué susto. ¿Cómo cojones entro yo ahí? ¿Puedo investigar aquí? Cotillar de alguno. ¡Hostias! Aquí hay peña. Más gente. ¿Esa señora quién es? ¡Tours! ¡Tours!
Good evening, nurse. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, the new surgeon here at the Pembroke.
Dr. Swansea has already told us about you, sir. I'm Nurse Gwyneth Brannigan. Welcome to the Pembroke Hospital.
Did he really? It's a good thing I wasn't hoping to keep a low profile.
All members of staff have already read about your new blood transfusion technique. Dr. Swansea made sure of that.
I see. Well, I'm a little surprised.
A ese tampoco lo conozco.
I suppose I'll just have to deal with this unexpected notoriety.
You must know, blood transfusions are Dr. Swansea's primary subject of research. He is convinced it is the future.
How are things here?
Not good, to say the least. We're struggling against an invisible enemy, more lethal than any bullet from a gun. It's hard, Doctor.
An invisible enemy? Quite a poetic term for a disease, especially from a nurse.
Sorry, Doctor. These last few weeks have been exhausting. We could all do with a good night's sleep.
Do you think this hospital can survive the epidemic?
We are all volunteers here, and we're trying to hold fast, but how do we beat an invisible killer? Some nurses have already resigned.
I'm not familiar with all the staff yet. Perhaps you could help me.
Brilliant professionals, most of them. Dr. Swansea has a gift for recruiting talent.
Most of them. Is there a problem I should know about, nurse?
It would be inappropriate for me to speak ill.
Venga, va, que no se lo digo a nadie.
Is there anyone that stands out?
Well, I have never met someone as dedicated as Dr. Tippett. He should be a standard for us all here. If only he were younger.
Why should his age be a problem?
I guess it's fair to say he's always pushing himself to the limits. He just doesn't know when to stop and get some rest.
Vale.
Nurse Brannigan, if you do know something, please tell me. Anything you say will be held in confidence.
No. I may disagree with some conduct, but in the end, everybody is doing their best.
Pistas. Espera, esto... Vale.
Goodbye, nurse. Call me if you need assistance.
Tú. Ah, es este.
Just a dozen years or so.
Good evening, sir.
So it is true. The famous Dr. Reed has joined us. I can't think of any better news during these terrible times.
Do we know each other?
Te voy a robar esas medicinas,
We met once before, at the Rockefeller University in New York.
Dr. Tippett, yes, I remember. I was assisting Professor Carell in his research about coronary bypasses. He had nothing but praise for you.
He was also very confident about your future. And look at you now. Eminent surgeon and blood transfusion specialist.
What is the Pembroke Hospital situation? And please...
Este es el doctor del otro, del de la cara jodida. Ese doctor que siempre parecía cansado.
It's more than enough. In any case, the personnel of a hospital are much more important to me than the building.
Don't be misled by appearances, Dr. Reed. This hospital does not lack talented people. It just lacks hope.
What can you tell me about the staff in the hospital?
Some are really good, and others are not so good. But during this troubled period, there is no time for slander. I prefer to focus on the positive character traits.
Tell me more about cherished people, then.
Nurse Brannigan is a pearl. She is the most helpful and dedicated nurse I've ever worked with. A clever and cheerful woman.
You really seem to admire her skills.
I'll go even further. If she was a man, she would be a damn fine practitioner.
Any opinion about the management?
I don't always agree with Dr. Swansea's reserve, but I must admit he does all he can to keep this facility running during this crisis.
Ah, yes, the burden of command. I was fed up with this concept while serving as a medical officer.
Don't get me wrong. Swansea's a good administrator. I just wish he would get out of his office now and again.
El capítulo de hoy es todo hablar con gente,
You're exhausting yourself, Corcoran. Maybe you should think about preserving your strength.
No. We must keep on healing all those poor souls. We are the last rampart before chaos. Once more unto the breach.
Your attitude is irresponsible, Doctor. Believe me, I've seen so many medical errors caused by exhaustion during the war.
You're right. This is a war, Dr. Reed, and I don't intend to surrender.
Bien, conseguido, vale. Preguntas personales, pista, ok. Chao.
Goodbye, Dr. Tippett.
Vale. Despídete también de de las medicinas ahí. ¿Dónde está la señora? Aquí. Señora, señora. Una cosita.
Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
Aquí no. Aquí sí.
Why does Dr. Tippett's claim you're the main reason he keeps working, despite his fatigue?
If it wasn't for him, I probably would have left the Pembroke years ago.
Dr. Tippett does not think of you as just a nurse anymore, does he?
If you're suggesting he's not taking my gender into consideration when it comes to medical practice and knowledge, I really hope he doesn't.
Vale.
Goodbye, nurse. Call me if you need assistance.
Entonces la cámara se pone un poco extraña. ¿En dónde? Vale. El este sigue aquí, ¿no? Sí. Vale. Señor. Señor.
Good evening, Dr. Tippett.
Dr. Reed, any good news to share?
Bueno, pues no sé. Estoy probando. No. Chao.
Goodbye, Dr. Tippett.
Vale, a ver. Joder, es verdad, tío. Me quedan todavía estos. Bueno, esta señora yo no sé por dónde entrar, ¿eh? La verdad. Hostia, pero que aquí... ¡Hola! ¿Pero qué dices? ¿Pero qué me estás contando? Pues voy a hacer una cosa. Voy a hablar con todos hoy. Y lo que dure el vídeo, pues duro.
Dr. Reed. Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
¿Cómo que experimento?
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me.
Joder.
I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
Ten cuidado porque...
You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. We're not smiling now.
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, yet my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have time.
Estoy pillando varias misiones secundarias, por lo que Guachi...
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Sí, mejor.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him, or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior. A man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings with desires, hopes, and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones, and flesh.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father, ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
¿Cómo? Aquí ya nada, no, no.
Goodbye,
Pues
Dr.
adiós.
Strickland.
What the fuck? ¿Tú quién eres? Pero si es que hay demasiada gente, tío.
Good evening, sir.
Ese es el que no habla con los pacientes, a lo
I
mejor.
believe we're going to be colleagues.
Reed, yes, I've been
Sí.
informed about your arrival. I'm Waverly Ackroyd. Welcome aboard, I suppose.
Does my arrival inconvenience you in some way, Dr. Ackroyd?
Let us just say that I don't particularly share Dr. Swansey's enthusiasm for hiring you. What we need here are reliable professionals, not overrated dabblers.
Vale, por Dios, es un poco gilipollas, ¿no?
If you have a problem with me, Dr. Ackroyd, please feel free to tell me.
Dr. Swansey has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've never met before, but I believe this hospital could use all the help it can get. You will agree with that, I'm sure.
Oh, but I have heard about you, Dr. Reed. Of course, you can't say the same about me, since I have not wasted my time courting the press.
There is no need for such animosity between us. Don't you think the epidemic is already enough to deal with?
That is one point we could agree on. And that is precisely why I want to be sure that you will be of help to this hospital instead of a burden.
Since your tenure in this hospital is longer than mine, perhaps you can tell me more about this place.
Let's just say I'm tired of the carelessness around me. I have always respected the skills of Dr. Swansey, but over time his enthusiasm has become displaced.
Carelessness? Exactly what are you talking about?
We're here to save lives. The people who trust us are not volunteering for experimentation. They're here to be healed.
I don't intend to run any radical experiments, Doctor. Even if I, as any good practitioner should, express an interest in pushing the boundaries of medical research.
Modern medical methods were created through audacity and ego. But there are rules in our line of work, and they're here to protect our patients.
Espérate, porque no aprueba los métodos de la medicina moderna. Claro, aquí hay muchos... Hostia, hay un montón, tío. Sano, desconocido... Ah, a lo mejor esta cosa... No lo puedo... Esta cosita ahí, es que está pocho. No lo sé.
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
And are you not afraid that your rivalry with Strickland may be blinding you?
Rivalry? I guess you could call it that. But I will never be childish enough to let my personal feelings affect my judgment.
Why do you wish to lead this surgery?
I strongly believe that Mr. Fiddick should not be butchered to test an unproven procedure.
I really hope you're right about this, Dr. Ackroyd. I'm trusting your judgment on this.
I'm not the kind of man who runs away from his responsibilities, Dr. Reed. There is no need for you to be looking over my shoulder.
I don't know what you've heard about me, but I have already proved my value as a practitioner.
I don't question your skills, Dr. Reed, but your motive. Is it money, fame, or are you truly dedicated?
And what exactly is that supposed to mean?
I served in the war just like you. But unlike you, I did not use the wounded to play the modern sorcerer.
Be careful what you insinuate, Dr. Ackroyd.
I only want you to admit you used those men to improve your theories.
This is ridiculous. My blood transfusion technique saved many lives, and you know it.
You see? That is exactly what I hate about people like you. You avoid this kind of accusation instead of facing reality.
A ver, si eran casos perdidos de si no hacemos nada, la va a palmar. Pero esto, oye, a lo mejor funciona, pero no lo sabemos. Pues hombre, no sé, ¿no?
It seems you have bad memories of your military service.
I refuse to see this industrial slaughter as scientific progress. War only reveals the worst in men.
We can at least agree on something, Dr. Ackroyd.
Lo único en lo que estamos de acuerdo, macho.
Thank
Pues
you
chao.
for your time. We'll talk later.
Vale, a ver. Dorothy Crane. ¿Tú quién coño eras? Ah, la que me ha recibido, que está encharcada de sangre, sí. Mortimer, Javier Fiddick, Dr. Strickland. Ah, espera, voy a hablar con el Dr. Strickland este. Un momento, te saqueo. Señor.
Good evening, Dr.
And good evening to you.
Ah, vale, a ver, aquí.
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
Vale. Tú esperas ahí. ¿Qué pasa aquí? ¿Esto qué es? Ah, vale, es un cuadro. Apoyado. A ver. ¿Quién? Espera. Ah, vale, esto da... Ah, no, ¿dónde está? O sea, no sé.
Good evening, madam. Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived. But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is there something in particular that's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
Are you really that rich? Most of the patients here are of a more humble origin, if I may say so.
Yes, thanks to my husband. May he rest in peace. I can cover any needed medical expenses.
May I ask if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
Hombre, por preguntar puede, pero...
I teach young women who are more ambitious
igual no te
about their
contesta.
futures than their families.
Vale.
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
She charged you for a bed?
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll talk to the people involved.
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
Preguntas personal.
Your son wished to die, Beatrice. Why did you hide such crucial information?
Are you not aware suicide is a crime? Mortimer could be thrown in
¿Qué
jail.
dices?
I can't let that happen. I won't.
I understand you fear the legal consequences, Mrs. Goswick. But don't you realize your silence significantly affects your son's case?
All my son needs is help and comprehension. Not judgment and punishment for what he may or may not have done.
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
Es ilegal suicidarte, o sea, what the fuck, tío.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I help at all?
No.
Really? Why are you here, then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here. Is
No,
someone
está aquí por
taking care of
turismo.
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
Debemos comunicarnos.
I'm sure you realize a doctor and his patient have to communicate, sir. Would it help if I gave you some paper and a pen?
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just your throat that hurts, Mr. Goswick. Perhaps your sore throat is just the consequence of something more hurtful.
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even write about it now.
How painful.
So
Claro, espera.
I'll let you get some rest, then.
I'm alright. Don't waste...
Es mentira,
Good
es
evening,
mentira,
Mr.
no te voy a
Goswick.
dejar descansar. Estoy bien, si estás de puta madre, campeón.
How
Espera.
painful.
So pain...
Ah.
Why did your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm here. She'd go all the way to hell and back to help me.
Perdón, he recibido un mensaje ahí un poco importante.
Pembroke Hospital may look unorthodox, but rest assured you're in good hands here.
It's not me you have to convince, Dr. Reed. It's my mother.
Is your mother bothering you? As your doctor, I can ask her to leave you alone if you would prefer.
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no idea what my mother is capable of. She would tie herself to my bed if you asked her to leave.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Goswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
Admit it, Mortimer. Your mother had you hospitalized here because you tried to kill yourself.
Por eso vino a este hospital.
All right, then.
Ah.
This is the first time we've really shared information about your case. Shall we call this progress?
Call it what you want, Dr. Reed.
You can trust me. I won't report you to the authorities. My one and only concern is your health.
I guess I should thank you then.
Can I help you in any way, Mr. Goswick?
I wrote a letter for my mother. She was supposed to read it after my death. But I suppose she doesn't have to read it now.
I see. And is this letter still near the place where you tried to take your own life?
Yes. And I don't want anyone reading my last words. I mean, I'm still here. If you bring me back that letter, then perhaps we'll talk.
Vale. Esto eran preguntas personales, efectivamente, pues chao.
But don't hesitate.
Ahora tengo que ir a hablar con la enfermera esa, la tal pipa, no sé qué. ¿Dónde está la enfermera? ¿Tú quién eres? Dorothy Crane, doctor no sé qué. Agotamiento. Bueno, pues tendré que hablar con este.
As for me, what a blundering idiot.
Hola, señor. Hostia, estoy ganando experiencia bastante, ¿eh?
May I help you?
I don't know if a third opinion is needed. Your colleagues are already arguing about my condition.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your situation?
I'm Harvey Fiddick. All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
Are you satisfied with your treatment here?
Well, it's clear that I've chosen a bad time to be injured. Forgive my bluntness, But you seem overwhelmed by cases of the flu.
I won't lie to you about it. I'm afraid we are.
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed? I have the feeling you're very capable. And your colleagues seem to think so too.
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take on the responsibility. My apologies.
Es que, joder, le abres el brazo para operar y es como, hostia, el menú.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Fiddick.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed, so I can return to work and to my family.
Este es el que mintió, que dijo que había tenido un accidente, pero en verdad no.
I'm a carpenter, and a good one too. But that means I need both arms to feed my family, Dr. Reed.
Tell me about the doctors who are arguing about your case.
Strickland and Ackroyd. They both want the best for me, but there's a lot of pride there. Doctors are no different from carpenters, it seems.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on a building site. Difference is, I disagreed about wooden nails, not flesh and bones.
Su vida en Londres era todo esto. Claro.
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
How could your job be responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
Hostia puta, tío.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick. Unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was in the army. Building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
I'm sorry for your loss. So many died during the bombings. I served in France and witnessed the carnage there.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer. Truth is, I have no idea. I just know that I'm all that me kids have. Poor little bleeders.
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Helen didn't bring them with her that night.
Hostia, tío. Esto era... No, su vida en Londres, no, preguntas personales.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
You always knew the words to calm the children.
Hostia, qué palo, Vale, espera, por aquí más. Camino, ya por aquí salgo del hospital. Papeleira. Okay. Ah, ahí están las escaleras. Vale. Prevenga la enfermedad, escupir, estornudo, toser, pero no tosa en público. Volvemos al hospital. A ver, tengo que hablar. ¿Tú quién eres? Vale. Desconocido. Espera, voy a hablar con este momento.
Good evening.
And good evening to you.
Como ahora he hablado con el otro... No. Tampoco, vale.
Goodbye.
Ya. Pues entonces con el otro no voy a hablar. Cuando digo, como he hablado con el otro, que están diciendo que discuten, digo, pues igual... Pipa Hawkins, desconocido. Usted, hija de la gran puta, ¿por qué ha cobrado por una cama?
Good evening, nurse.
Good evening, Doctor. I don't think we've been introduced yet. My name is Pippa Hawkins.
Despedida.
And I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. Dr. Swansea has recently offered me a position in this hospital.
Well, it's a euphemism that your help will be appreciated, Doctor.
How would you describe the situation at the Pembroke Hospital?
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff and patients. We are running out of everything.
You must get a hold of yourself, nurse.
Sorry, I'm exhausted. No one has any idea when this epidemic will be over.
Nurse Hawkins, the Spanish flu won't last forever. Even the Black Plague didn't kill everyone.
I wish I could believe you. But what if this epidemic was worse? What if in the end, nobody was spared?
¿Por qué me mira a mí? Yo qué sé.
How long have you been a nurse?
Well, long enough to see that the epidemic is winning. And no matter how qualified you are, don't tell me you'll change that.
You'd be surprised what dedication can achieve, Nurse Hawkins. In medicine, sometimes we're just a test result away from a miracle.
Sorry, Doctor. I don't want to sound bitter, but I'm just too tired to give a pep talk like Nurse Brannigan.
How is the Pembroke staff coping with the epidemic?
Well, not well. Milton, the ambulance driver, is even more grumpy than usual, especially concerning doctors.
Why is Milton grumpy on
¿Por
a
qué me
daily
miras?
basis? Is it
Hala,
just
ya
an
está.
act?
Milton's not the kind of man who's bothered about a bad reputation, whether he deserved it or not.
¿Me sigue mirando a mí? No, no sé. Me pone nervioso.
Why does Milton dislike doctors?
I don't know. Just ask him. But be warned, Milton is not the chatty type.
Vale, pues ahora aquí. ¿Eh?
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
¿Cómo que goodbye? Han robado dinero. Hija de puta, no puedo hablar con él. A ver. ¿Dónde está Milton? ¿Usted? Espera, ¿ahí quién es? Doctor Cornell. Vale. Milton.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor.
Why do you have such a mediocre reputation among your colleagues, Milton?
Fuck them. Nobody knows the horrors I've seen since working here. This city was sick long before the epidemic, Dr. Reed.
I know it's a difficult task, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is this not the job you are paid to do?
I've seen babies left to die while their brothers were properly fed. Underage girls and boys sold to all manner of perverts.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, exactly. We lack words. So excuse me if I don't look on the bright side of life.
Goodbye, Milton.
Vale, a ver. Joder, chaval. Esto ya estaría, ¿no? Entonces. Creo... Ah, no, es verdad que me falta aquí. Joder, me falta uno, tío. ¿Pero esto dónde es?
Thelma Howcroft said she was being watched by vampire hunters.
Sí, ya, pero... Espera, ¿no está aquí? What?
I should investigate. It's locked.
¿Qué pa... ¡Eh! ¿Cómo? Investiga las acciones del ciudadano. ¿Desde dónde? Desde una de esas ventanas. Ahí.
You don't mind if I search your pockets, do you, sir? You won't need any of these anyway. I'm not stealing from you, mister. I'm only redistributing your belongings to people who need them more than you.
Pero qué hijo de puta, ¿no?
You see, no one has claimed your body, sir. So it would be such a shame to bury you with your valuables. I will not forget you, sir. And I thank you for your generous donation.
Pero... Te voy... ¡Hostia, qué susto! ¿Tú quién eres? Joder. Está cerrado esto.
It's locked.
Vale. Tú, hijo de puta.
I'm Dr. Reed. Always a pleasure to meet a colleague, sir. Especially when he was supposedly dead.
A colleague? Are you a doctor too?
Not anymore, sir. I used to be Dr. Rakesh Chadana. Now, I'm just Mr. Chadana, pawnbroker and humble guardian of this morning.
Prestamista, además, joder.
You used to be a doctor. Was your license revoked?
No, sir. It is just that I like to be precise. I run a little pawn shop while taking care of the dead. But I used to be a real doctor.
Do you work here alone?
Yes, very easy work, sir. All I have to do is watch a few bodies. The situation was very different when the main morgue was still open.
Why do you have to watch these bodies?
Because these poor fellows have no names. We keep them in case someone comes looking for the missing. Sadly, very rarely happens.
Why close the hospital's main morgue?
It was for sanitary reasons after the beginning of the epidemic. Cadavers had to be moved to the nearest mass grave.
Are you afraid or uneasy being surrounded by so many corpses?
Why should I? These bodies are empty vessels. Flesh left to decay. Poof. No soul anymore. All gone.
Sí, vacíos, pero ven que...
An interesting point of view.
Bien que les registra, ¿eh? Muy vacíos no estarán.
Most people fear or at least have a respect for dead flesh.
Sir, as a medic during the war, I learned to face my death and the death of others. It's the pain we have to tame, not death itself.
How did you get this job?
After I left the army, I worked as an undertaker down by the docks. A dangerous place with many an unpleasant business there. Milton Hooks helped me get a job here.
Tenía que ir a hablar con el de la cara porque habla con su médico, es verdad.
Have we met before?
I don't think so, sir. Why?
When we first talked, you said you were glad to meet me since I was...
Pues me daban por muerto, claro.
Funny story, sir. Your sister came here a few nights ago. You were missing, and she was looking for your body. She must be very relieved now.
Ya, bueno, ha habido un pequeño problema, pero vale. Claro.
A pawnbroker.
Aquí hay cosas.
I expect you get all types of people here.
Yes, sir. All kind of people. For I sell all kind of goods.
Que robas a los muertos.
Who comes here to trade with you? It's very unhygienic, even unsafe. Diseases can spread. For the customers, for the hospital.
I'm very cautious, sir. I've been a doctor, remember? And all my clients are good people. In fact, I think I only know good people.
What kind of goods?
With the quarantine, it's not always easy to buy things. So I trade, I exchange. Some people sell, some others buy. I like to help.
Since you're not afraid of dying, do you believe in life after death, Rakesh?
No. I believe we must do all the good we can while alive.
No lo crees muy fuerte.
For our time is short, and the obstacles are endless.
Do you think you would enjoy immortality as a concept?
I don't think so. Don't mistake me. I love life, and I'd like to live a long life. But everything has to decay, sir. Even goodwill.
Do you really believe goodwill cannot last?
As I said, sir, everything decays. If I was to never die, goodness, I would be bored or worse. And I like to be helpful, sir.
Quite depressing, wouldn't you say?
Yes, but the good news is we'll all die before losing our humanity, sir.
So you're ready to die?
No, I am not. I don't fear death, for I won't see it. What troubles me is the pain my death will inflict to those I know.
You're a wise man, Mr. Chidana.
No, Dr. Reed. I am a foolish man. But I like to think otherwise.
How dare you steal from the dead, Rakesh? Is that what your pawnbrokers is really about?
These people are dead, sir. What they possessed could be useful for the living. And I'm sure they would agree if they could speak.
You should show respect for the dead. What about their loved ones who may treasure these items you sell?
The bodies I watch over are the unwanted and undesired, sir. I would never deprive anyone of their family artifacts.
Qué hijo de puta.
Please show me.
Of course.
¿Tiene alguna fórmula? Hostia, codeína. Hostia, se lo voy a comprar. Y opio. Lo he comprado solo la fórmula, es lo que puedo comprar solo. Que te follen, hijo de puta. Vale, a ver entonces, tío. Pero la señora esa... Voy a subir, tío. Ah, no, espera, es verdad, voy a hablar con esto. Bueno, menos mal que me ha salido la cara, tío.
Good evening.
Evening.
No. No. Vale, pues nada, chao. ¿Qué es esto? Cerca del uso del ajo y de las estacas de madera. Estimados hermanos, debo llamar vuestra atención con respecto a un punto esencial, el uso del ajo como protección contra los vampiros. Seamos totalmente claros con este asunto. El ajo jamás te protegerá contra esas criaturas. No importa lo fresco, fuerte u oloroso que sea, el ajo es totalmente inservible como defensa. Nunca me canso de repetir el daño que ha hecho la novela de Bram Stoker. Sí, por supuesto que los habitantes de los países eslavos colocan ajo en los ataúdes. Y sí, por supuesto que los habitantes de la isla de Santorini cuelgan ajos en sus ventanas. Se podría escribir tanto sobre este lugar. Espero poder regresar pronto a la isla para explorar más a fondo su tradición oculta. Pero el objetivo no es el de proteger a los vivos de los demonios. Se trata de advertir a los muertos de que son conscientes de su malevolencia. Se trata de un símbolo, nada más y nada menos. Así que, sí, por favor, portad ajo, mostrad ajo, colgad ajo y dejadles claro a las obras que nada teméis. Pero si lo que busquéis es protección sobrenatural, tenéis que indagar mucho más en los secretos olvidados de la tradición oculta. Pues esta es la verdad, hermanos míos. El ajo no ahuyenta a los vampiros, pero todas las plantas frescas sí los dañarán. Oh, sí. Es como si sus cuerpos no soportaran la presencia de los elementos botánicos. He visto huir a un iracundo vulpe tras golpearlo con una rosa. Sí, una simple rosa. Le habrás clavado los pinchos. He sido testigo de o sería alérgico, como un violento Econ caía de rodillas y suplicaba clemencia al ser golpeado por una estaca de madera. Hombre, desconozco totalmente el motivo de su eficacia y me jugaría el cuello por descubrir el misterio, pero la verdad sigue estando ahí. Los vampiros son muy sensibles a las hierbas, a las plantas y a la madera recién cortada. Como en el segundo piso haya más gente, me voy a cagar en la puta. Segundo piso a la izquierda, al final del pasillo. Hostia, que hay mucho que investigar. What the fuck. Sierra usada. Historia clínica de T. Elwood. Hostia. Thomas Elwood. Estado convaleciente. La cara del paciente presenta quemaduras graves y está desfigurada a causa de una bomba durante una guerra. Aun cuando se le aplican los sedantes más fuertes, se afirma que padece mucho dolor a causa de las heridas, como si las llamas se siguiesen ardiendo bajo la piel. El reconocimiento de los tejidos cicatrizados no muestra signos de inflamación, infección o tumefacción. Las cicatrices están limpias. ¿Podría tratarse de un caso de daño neurológico irreversible? Se culpa a sí mismo por su desfiguración. ¡Ah, es verdad! Claro, caso de culpa del superviviente. Hostia, eso sí que pasa, porque se culpan por haber sobrevivido a algo que el resto no. Y demás, y se jode, es verdad. Dolor fantasma que se manifiesta como castigo por no morir junto a sus compañeros. Miembro fantasma no es porque no le falta el miembro, sí, pero podía ser un dolor fantasma. Voy a hablar con él. Lo del dolor fantasma lo había sospechado, pero lo había descartado. Pero lo del culpa del superviviente no. Hostia, ¿dónde estoy? ¿Dónde me he metido? ¿Qué es eso que brilla? Sin más, es una lámpara. Espera, ¿dónde estoy? Socorro. Hola, vale.
Good evening.
Evening.
Why do you feel responsible for the injury, Thomas? What really happened?
I wasn't disfigured by any German shells. It happened during my leave. It was an accident.
Why lie about it?
Come on. It's one thing to come back disfigured by the Germans, and it's another to get injured in an accident that could have happened to anybody.
Reconstructive surgery has been very successful for some soldiers.
I don't want to wear a bloody mask for the rest of my life. I'd rather stay here and just be forgotten.
Error de pista, ¿qué dices?
I don't want to...
Tell me what really happened then.
I went with a whore in Rouen. Dead drunk I was.
No puede esconderse para siempre, era
The hotel was a shit.
Digo yo.
There was a fire that night.
Did you start the fire? Were you trying to avoid going back to the front? That's not uncommon, you know.
No. It's just that I was asleep when the flames reached the room. The girl was long gone. Bitch never woke me up. Left me to burn.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
Hostia, espérate a ver. Que voy a ver aquí. Ah, lo de agotamiento. Ah, vale. Espérate a ver aquí. La mujer de Harvey murió, se culpa a sí mismo por sus heridas. Vale. Espérate, ¿yo a quién busco ahora mismo? Estoy buscando aquí. Pista perdida. Me faltan aquí dos. Uno de ellos es el que está encerrado. Pues entonces es posible que sí, que se culpe a sí mismo por esa mierda. Oh. He terminado aquí de botella de ginebra barata, botella pequeña. Vale. Ese está en mi despacho, entonces. Supongo que sí. Doctor Reed.
This must be the place. It's definitely away from prying eyes. Relegated to the shadows. A kingdom of my own. At least I won't be sleeping in a coffin.
Querido Jonathan, le he pedido a la enfermera Crane que prepare un despacho para usted en la segunda planta. Por favor, disculpe la austera decoración, pero el Hospital Pembroke no es precisamente el Ritz. Siento que tenga que conocer solo su despacho, pero debo descansar un poco antes de seguir con mi trabajo. Al fin y al cabo, no soy más que un simple mortal. También he dado orden de que lo dejen descansar y que el personal jamás acceda a su habitación. Podrá dormir todo el día sin ser molestado y trabajar por la noche sin notar ningún tipo de sospecha. Me temo que el lugar está un poco desorganizado, pero podrá llevar a cabo sus experimentos a su ritmo. También observará una ventana abierta con un andamio que le permitirá entrar y salir del hospital sin ser visto. Puedo imaginar lo terriblemente novedoso y perturbador que resultará todo esto. Créame, he estudiado lo suficiente su especie como para comprender lo que estará pasando y sintiendo ahora mismo, pero no se preocupe, haré todo lo que esté en mi mano para ayudarlo con esta terrible experiencia. Sepa que no está solo en todo esto, me alegro de haberlo conocido, pues corren tiempos difíciles para todos. Espero que nuestra futura colaboración produzca resultados increíbles. Bienvenido a Pembroke. Podemos hablar muy pronto, Sí, vale, ya lo tengo, no lo voy a volver a leer. Artículo sobre los cercos. Es una oportunidad... ¿Cómo? Poco común y casi un privilegio poder aproximarse a un vampiro, observar sus más que fascinantes rasgos físicos y psicológicos con una mirada científica y racional. Estas son algunas de las más increíbles capacidades que he podido observar personalmente durante los últimos 10 años de entrevistas a vampiros, o Icon, como prefieren hacerse llamar. Velocidad sobrenatural. Un vampiro puede actuar y moverse como un mortal en todo movimiento, pero un ojo bien entrenado puede apreciar unos sentidos mucho más desarrollados, una capacidad de reacción mucho más rápida que la de cualquier mortal. En determinadas situaciones, alarma, sorpresa, necesidad de escapar, he visto un vampiro desplazarse tan rápido que casi podría parecer que se desvaneciera para reaparecer en otro lugar. El ojo humano no es capaz de seguir sus movimientos cuando actúan con tanta celeridad. Pero no se trata de ningún tipo de teletransporte o desmaterialización. Es tan solo una velocidad sobrenatural. Para mí es como los atributos de los gatos, que les permite correr, esquivar y saltar más lejos y rápido que nosotros. También he observado que esa velocidad parece agotarlos, pero que están sujetos a limitaciones físicas. Mesmerismo. Una Y las más poderosas capacidades que poseen los vampiros es la de obligar a los mortales a obedecerlos. Yo denomino mesmerismo a este rasgo, pero poco tiene que ver con la habilidad de los mortales para alterar el estado mental de un sujeto. Un vampiro puede obligar a un mortal a su voluntad, e incluso destruir su mente. Un vampiro al que entrevisté llegó a contarme que cuanto más se resiste el sujeto, más permanente resulta el daño. Es como si el vampiro pudiese literalmente fracturar la psique de su víctima. Ese mismo vampiro me explicó que lleva tiempo llegar a dominar una habilidad así, que el resultado podría variar en gran medida de un sujeto a otro. Implantar un recuerdo falso o borrar uno doloroso. ¿Qué dices? ¡Hostia! Las posibilidades son infinitas y aterradoras. Implantar un recuerdo falso. Lo de su mujer, la muerte de la mujer del tío. Borrar uno doloroso, lo de la chisma. Posibilidades son infinitas y aterradoras. Debilidad por la sangre. Esta podría ser la más catastrófica de las capacidades de los vampiros, pues no es sino la causa de un gran número de desgracias, tanto para nosotros como para ellos. Los vampiros anhelan la sangre, deben emplear su voluntad para refrenarse a sí mismos de beber sin control cada gota de sangre que ven. Necesitan sangre para funcionar y para activar totalmente sus rasgos sobrenaturales. Un vampiro famélico puede estar muy débil, aunque no llegue a morir de hambre ni de sed. Este impulso, esa necesidad de sangre, podría explicar la gran fascinación que sienten por ella los vampiros. Un vampiro me confesó en una ocasión que a veces lo cegaba la sangre, pues su olor y su atractivo podían llegar a ser demasiado fuertes. Cuando se concentran, los vampiros casi pueden llegar a ver la sangre a su alrededor, en los cálidos cuerpos, a través de los muros, en una rama supuestamente limpia, etc. Ese mismo vampiro también me contó que pueden distinguir si la sangre de un mortal está sana o enferma, y que en determinados casos pueden sentir incluso enfermedades y ropas u efectos. ¿Qué ha pasado? Determinados casos pueden sentir incluso enfermedades u objetos infectados en una habitación. Si eso es cierto, podrían haber médicas que casi parecen merecer la pena. Un frasco de vidrio.
The flower's dying. It needs water.
Coño. Aquí hay agua. What? No quiero salir. Esto es para... Ah, no. Creía que era para recargar, reponer mis cosas. Ah, será esto. Sí, reponer, no quiero. Espérate. Lo primero, el tratamiento para el agotamiento. Me falta quinina. Y solución de hipoclorito. Espera un momento. Claro, botella. Reciclar. Ah, bueno, fabricar armas, claro, pero no quiero fabricar. Pero sierra usada. 15 energía 15, 15 energía 20. Espera un momento. Perdón. Bueno, pues si puedo mejorar la sierra, cojonudo, ¿eh? Para analizar. Vale, espera un momento. Pieza de empuñadura corriente. Se la puedo comprar al otro, pero no tengo pasta. Analizamos. Esta fórmula... ¡Hostia! ¡Hostia! Tratamiento resfriado, bronquitis y neumonía, chaval. Hostia, esto... Oh, curioso. Claro, a ver, pero pensemos, tengo 30 monedas...
William Bishop's blood is much more unstable than human blood and shows extensive mutation. But this is not what happened to me. I must keep on searching. The sun is about to rise. I can feel it. I'll continue tomorrow night. I have so much time now.
Y si algún arma no la quiero, no la puedo. No la puedo reciclar. Vale, pues a ver, a dormir. Tengo ahí 2 vasos, 2 frascos. Me voy a poner más vida, tú, si me deja, claro. Pues no me deja, pues a tomar por culo. Pues más, ¿qué es esto? Aumenta tu capacidad de sangre. Le voy a aumentar la energía también, tío. A la estamina. La estamina fuego. ¿Qué es esto? Pero... aumenta capacidad de sangre, aumenta absorción de sangre. Hombre, capacidad no, ¿qué es esto? Un movimiento sobre el objetivo... ¿Cómo? Infligiendo daño al aterrizar. ¿Cómo? La sombra de volverte invisible para la mayoría. Si te mueves, consumirás más energía. Terminantes, ¿qué es esto? La bestia se desplaza hacia los enemigos y los ataca con furia. What the fuck, tío. De sombras a tus pies, a los pies de tu enemigo. No sé, tío. Esto de ciencia, ahora puedes llevar 3 sueros, aumenta el número de balas que puedes llevar. Sueros. Ah, vale. Pero es para mí, no para las... Vale. De momento lo voy a dejar así. De momento.
If I'm to stay here until my research is complete, I'd better learn to hide my true nature from the mortals.
Ah, no puedo coger los frascos. Vale.
What about my thirst for blood?
Combatir la epidemia. Claro, esto yo sí que lo quiero. Atiende a la puerta. Ah, superada. Ahora paso al capítulo 2. Aprende a vivir entre mortales. Vale. ¿Qué dices? Cada vez que descanso se van a ir poniendo pochos. Creía que era por mis decisiones o algo. No que... ¡Hala! Bueno, este no me preocupa tanto porque es un poco hijo de puta, ¿sabes? Oh, es verdad que tengo todas estas misiones aquí secundarias, chaval. Buah. Pues con todo esto voy a empezar el próximo día. Madre mía. Que sí, que lo vamos a dejar aquí. Espero que os haya gustado. Muchas gracias por estar ahí un día más agotado. En el próximo continuaremos. Hasta luego.